I'll find them all. I felt the whips and remember chains, but my soul has been forged by my father's flames. Fight your fears and heal your pain, and victory will be in your name.
I used to be weak, but I'm not weak no more. I found the strength of my ancestors deep down in my African core. I used to be frightened, I'm not afraid no more.
And remember chains when my soul
The
has
Father bless me with the heart of a lion and a warrior soul. So no weapon that form against I shall not prevail, and no man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer them.
Tell them no retreat, no surrender. I shall fight till the end of days. I was born as a Makai warrior, and the Almighty God my blade. Fire burn all Satan carrier. Father loose all shackles and chain. This morning first thing as I wake up, King David turned Sam to the brain. Don't let your courage go down, keep it up. And if your heart rip up and stitch it up, don't let your faith them fall, pick it up. When my cup was empty, God fill it up. Don't take the devil contract, rip it up. And if your bad mind people, you go meet it up. Pass me the Congo drum and let me beat it up. God on my side, me no give it up.
So no weapon that form against I shall not prevail, and no man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer them.
Thank you, Father. I want to say thank you, Lord. You are everything, Father. Thank you. Father, you alone shall guide me. No man shall lead my path. In the wind I hear your quiet whispers, and you heal my broken heart. Even some of my friends turn enemies, and they pray for right to fail. And remember you gave us your only begotten son, but we gave him the wound of life. Send down your warriors with the hello, they carry down to the end of days. No matter how the devil try trick me, unto you my soul I will give. Father, I know this storm is coming, I can see the high tide raise. Without you there is no other. Could there be that really
No weapon that form against I shall not prevail, and no man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer them.
I am a man. I am a champion. I am a warrior. So who are you to tell me that I cannot make? Who are you to tell me that I am not the greatest thing that God ever created?
Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and P.T. Martinique. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 CitysoundFM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Sister Al Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. Or no, 92.9 is Carriacou, I'm sorry. For those of you listening in Carriacou, good morning to you. And 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A special good morning to those of you joining us on the live video, whether it's on Facebook, on YouTube, on WhatsApp, wherever you may be. Good morning to you. It's a very beautiful day in the Spice Isle of Grenada, Carriacou, and P.T. Martinique. The dust has finally started clearing. I know a lot of you have been affected by the Saharan dust. It's really it really was a terrible, terrible experience for a lot of us. I had to run 3 humidifiers for the past 3 days throughout the house just to make sure that my son was comfortable. So it really was an experience for us here in Grenada, but also in the region as well, because most of the islands in the region would have been experiencing the same thing. It's quite an experience. 2020 is quite a year, I must say. We are experiencing things we never thought in our lifetime we'd see, But it has cleared, and of course we are grateful for that. Now it's time to call for some rain to wash away some of that dust that has settled on our rooftops, on our houses, on our surfaces. So we need to call for some rain to take care of that, right? This morning we're going to just have an open conversation. Sometimes it's important for us to have an open conversation. And I also want to hear from people in the diaspora, especially the protocols as it relates to the opening of the airport. I know everyone is eager to hear those protocols, to hear what protocols have been put in place for the opening or the reopening of the airport. And very soon we're going to hear about that. Sometimes we want things to happen in the time that we want it to happen. But everything happens in the way that it needs to happen at the time that it needs to happen. So let's not rush. Let's not hurry it, because it really is a delicate situation. It really is a delicate topic, the opening of our borders, the opening of our airport. Grenadians are in two minds about it, if we're being honest. Some people think that, well, it's best we leave the borders closed. Some people understand that it is important, not just for tourism, but more importantly, for our Grenadians in the diaspora who want to come home, who's been stranded, who's been calling, who's been clamoring for a way that they can come home. We have students abroad who need to come home. We have people who went away just to do a medical. They want to come home. So we have to find ways to accommodate them. We have to find ways to work around the situation. A lot of people are saying, well, COVID is going to be around for a long time. We don't know how long that's going to be. So we have to continue moving. We have to find a way to live with COVID-19? Are we going to allow COVID-19 to hold us by the neck and keep us in a place of fear for as long as it needs to? Or are we going to find creative ways to work around the situation, to work around moving forward? We can't stay in one place forever. All right. So we're going to open the lines very early this morning. The number to call is 440-7377. If you're calling locally, 347-329-3101. If you're in the diaspora, and 440-7377 for WhatsApp calls and WhatsApp messages. Now, yesterday I had a very interesting conversation with a gentleman who was upset because he needed to come back to lay his mom to rest. And he understood from what he read in the guidelines that were given to the 19 individuals coming to Grenada, not 19, it was 50-something of them that came into Grenada on the 19th. He understood something different from what he read. He understood that he would come in and he'd be quarantined for 2 to 4 days, and then he would be allowed to do what he needs to do. Now, I want us to understand that the protocol in Grenada and in the region and the world at large has always been 14 days. The quarantine period has always been 14 days. The circumstances of the quarantine may fluctuate, right? But the quarantine period is always 14 days. So whether you are quarantined at a government facility for 14 days or for the full 14 days, whether as in the beginning you were asked to be quarantined at home, self-quarantine for 14 days, that was communicated. Whether you are asked to quarantine partially in a facility identified by the Ministry of Health and then quarantine the remainder at home, it has always been 14 days. I don't think anything different has been communicated. I don't think anything different has been said as it relates to the quarantine period. This is how it's being done throughout the world. And it really breaks my heart when I hear Grenadians who, for some reason, they're upset because they don't agree with a policy, or they don't agree with a protocol, or they don't agree with a decision made by government, and they choose to go on public forums and bash the country that they come from. It really does break my heart, because at the end of the day, regardless of which administration is in power, regardless of which administration is in office, we have to remember that when you go out there and you speak bad about your country, it doesn't look bad for government only. It looks bad for your country. It puts a bad stain on the name that is Grenada, And I feel it hurts me. It breaks my heart that you aren't passionate enough about your country to want to protect its image. You say, well, I am Grenadian too. But in the same breath that you say, I am Grenadian too, you turn around and say that, and I'm just quoting from what the gentleman said yesterday, you turn around and you say that we don't know what we're doing, and you turn around and you say that the doctors in Grenada are incompetent, and you turn around and you say that the healthcare system in Grenada is the worst in the world, and these are some of the statements that Grenadians make. And these things really break my heart, because as a Grenadian, I cannot see how you're saying, well, I'm fighting to come home, I'm fighting for my country, and in the same breath, you turn around and you bash the same Grenada that you're talking about. So that really breaks my heart. A question on the live, somebody's asking, can someone tell me what's going on with the schoolwork lately? As far as I know, what are we on now? The 24th? If the children were in school at this point, the teaching semester would have already closed. Because remember, we're looking at report books, we're looking at teachers taking time now to prepare grades and so on. If they were in school, of course, they would be given some sort of instruction to keep them active. However, the teaching semester, I believe, has already ended. So for parents out there, you're wondering what to do with your children, what's going on. Remember, we're going into that summer section of the school term, so you want to make sure that you make the necessary arrangements, whether you speak to your teachers to find out if they can advise on what work, or provide some plan that you can administer to your children while they are at home, then you should do that. But the teaching semester has already ended. Teachers are now tallying scores and getting students ready for that September semester, trying to decipher who is going up to a different grade, who needs additional work. And of course, we are waiting for those results of where our children, as grade 6 parents, where our children will be going in September and what's happening in September. Now, I want to go back to the topic of yesterday's conversation. Now, I cannot, it bothered me in a way that I can't even explain. Because as a Grenadian, I will never, I just can't see myself sitting on any forum, going on social media, and bashing my country of birth. We're supposed to be helping build Grenada. We're supposed to be helping to shape the future of the country that our children will inherit. How do you plan to do that? What contributions do you plan to make to your country to help build it? We see a lot of people migrating to different countries for betterment and so on. And in some cases, we feel that because we've moved from Grenada into a different country, that our lives are somewhat better than the lives of the people of Grenada. You know, our situations may have improved, our situations may have changed, but it doesn't put us in a better position. Because in some cases, we have to work harder. In some cases, you have to work more jobs to maintain the lifestyle that you want to maintain in the place that you've migrated to. But it doesn't give you the right to bash Grenada and to bash Grenadians and to make the people living here feel that we are living in a lesser place. You know, we have dealt with COVID in Grenada better than we could say. We could boast that we could boast that we've dealt with it better than even people in the United States of America, you know. But at the same time, I don't like to see, I don't agree with, I cannot support any Grenadian who goes out there and makes it seem as if Grenada is such a bad place, as if we're in such a deplorable condition. Our healthcare system is not the best in the world, you know. Our healthcare system is probably, it probably needs work. Well, it needs work, not even probably, but it needs work. But the healthcare system in all countries need work. There is no best healthcare system in the world, you know. But what are you doing to help contribute to the growth and development of Grenada? You think when you go over there and you speak about Grenada in such a bad way, that people who are willing to invest in our country, to help develop our country, to help build our country, you think they're looking at us twice when our own people would not even appreciate where they came from and would not appreciate the help that they are willing to give? And sometimes I wonder, because we keep saying, the government is only looking for handouts, or the government is only looking for investors to sell things to, and so on. But you see, we don't understand and we don't look at it in an open mind, because there are a lot of people who are asking, we want better healthcare service, we want better roads, we want better schools, we want help with our homes, we want better housing, and all of these things. We ask for them. How do you expect us to get it? We don't have a mint. We don't have all of the resources that these first world countries have. So we rely on tourism, we rely on agriculture, we rely on investment. So when Grenadians go out there and they speak about Grenada in such a way that it makes people afraid to even want to come here, what good is that doing for the development of Grenada? How are the investors going to look at us? People who want to give us grants, people who want to give us support, people who want to donate, people who have been donating. How does that make them feel when their own people, the people that they are helping, the people that they are supporting, turn around and say that what you're doing isn't good enough, that we don't appreciate it? We have to look at all of these things. You know, we have to be mindful of these things. And as the Minister of Minister Bowen, he was here last week, and as he said, these investors, the IMF and the World Bank, they all listen, you know. They listen to the different programs. They listen to the different comments coming out of Grenada. And they make decisions based on that. So sometimes when we feel that something is coming our way and it doesn't happen, and we wonder, well, did government do something wrong? Sometimes it's us, you know. Sometimes we are the ones that caused something to go sour, or we are the ones that blocked some blessing or blocked some assistance that was coming our way with the things that we say and the way that we react. And I mean, nobody is saying if you have a gripe or if you have a concern that you shouldn't share that concern. But there are always ways to do things. And sometimes we look for the most controversial way because we feel that if we make the most noise and if we say the worst things, that we would get the most attention. And sometimes that's not the best way to deal with it. Because where you may receive on one end, you may lose on another. So we have to be mindful of these things. Guys, remember the lines are open. The number to call is 440-7377 if you're calling from the, if you're calling locally. If you're calling from the diaspora and you want to contribute to the conversation, you can contact us at 347-329-3101. What are we doing to help build Grenada? I see a lot of complaints. Every day I go through social media, I see complaints about this and complaints about that and complaints. I don't go through social media and see a thank you. I don't go through social media and see, well, this was done great or that was done great. We've developed a culture where we feel that in order for us to sound important, in order for us to do or make some sort of mileage, that we need to be negative, that we need to condemn, that we need to be controversial. When did we develop that culture? And is it a good culture for our people? We have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I tried to get in yesterday when you had this great man on the program, and I just couldn't. I tried up to the end and I couldn't. I was just unlucky. Now, I'm saying to you, I'll tell you something. It is tough time, very tough time. It's not easy to deal with the world situation. I think the world broken down. In here, it is tough for us because we depend a lot on the larger countries. Because we, our citizens, don't intend to pull their own. I listened to some of the government program, and particularly it relates to agriculture. I'm yet to find out the committees, those committees, the subcommittees on who they're discussing with. I hear names of some of them, but who are they discussing it and what are they saying to us? I'm not hearing it. It is silent. I tried to reach somebody yesterday. There was no meeting. They're silent on exactly what aspect of the economy they would touch to resuscitate the economy. I want to hear that. But as it relates to agriculture, I have so much things about agriculture. I'm a past farmer, and I say that still I'm a farmer because I do farming, but not for commercial farming and just for the house. This strategy, I think, that is rolled out now, which is targeting the commercial farmers, will not work. It will not work because labor cost is very high. Let me say briefly, I don't want to take too much of your time. As a farmer, if my children are to come back here to go in the soil, I want them to have the roads. I'll also want electricity and water. And I'll say, hey, go build a house on the farm. That's where your grandfather used to live, when I used to live. Go build a house on the farm and farm. Right? If you attempt to do this, to get every single farmer, rather than targeting the commercial farmer, who might be the supermarkets and wealthy business people who have the wherewithal and who will be able to seize the market from the farmer, for the bulk of the farmer, that's going to crash. So I'm saying, if you try to get every single farmer back in the field as we used to in the past, every acre or 2 acres or 3 acres of land had a house, even high up in the mountain area. So you get this thing going back again. And you say to the farmers, look, go back to your land. Workers, live on your land. Protect your land from the what you call the predator listeners. And give me production. I have a market for you. I believe government is going to gain much, much more than spending a lot of money just on a few farmers. That will not solve the problem. Because you have to maintain the farmers. You can't go with what you call the backyard gardening. They tried it and it failed. The backyard gardening is going to take away from the farmers. Because when you get everybody to do a backyard garden to provide the means of daily support, right? Obviously, That is the farmer's concern. You're going to take that away from the farmers.
Well, caller, let me just pause you for a moment there because I think you have it mixed up. So the backyard gardening program that the Ministry of Agriculture is putting in place is not to compete with farmers. What that backyard gardening program is meant to do is to give vulnerable families a means in which they must feed themselves.
Yes.
So it's not meant to compete. They are not going in the business of farming. They are just providing them with tools in which they can plant their own crop. I believe what Mr. Clark said when he was here, they'll be planting things like root crops, yams, cassava, these root crops, and they'll be given things like, I believe, plantain,
Yes.
And a few other things. I can't remember the full names. But
that's why I was trying to get in. I heard him very loud and clear.
Right, but it's not meant to compete with farmers, and I want us to get that clear.
No,
it is just for vulnerable families, and it's only 500 families in Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique who would have access to that. So social development, along with the SIAC program, they have a list of people who are vulnerable already. And the representatives will identify people in their constituencies or families in their constituencies who need that sort of support. So it's not to compete with farmers.
I'm not criticizing that. I'm not criticizing that. I heard what he says. I heard the numbers too. He started with 200 and then he eventually reached to 500. I heard all that. So I said, he's a genius. I give the man the credit. He's a brilliant man. What he's saying is the truth. But I am looking beyond where we are, because remember, we have a rising cost and a population that we cannot provide all the jobs for. So if you do that with the vulnerable, that is going to grow. It will grow, because remember, the commercial sector is not doing well to create revenue for the state. And I always be saying this. I discuss with them too, because I want to unlock where we are, because I've seen some very serious situations down the road, and that's why I'm communicating with everybody, to show them that we might want to go in a particular area. We have to look at the effect of it. In the surplus that these vulnerable people will make, they will want a market for it. The surplus, they just can't farm for themselves. They will have a surplus. What do they do with the surplus? They will have to get some means of getting rid of the surplus to aid them in other areas that they will need. That is going to grow. And once it grows, it's going to challenge the farmers who will have the same thing to put on the market. And so I'm saying here, I'm not condemning that, but I say, could we look beyond that? And rather than do that, say, look, we're going to provide a market for every single farmer. Don't care what you produce, how much you produce. We are going to provide a market for that. We're going to ensure that somebody take whatever you have, the 10 pound, the 20 pound, the 30 pound, market that and sell it for you. So you're hitting everybody. That is growing and building, because sustaining the economy as it's leads to creating revenue for the state. That's what I'm going for, That's what I'm going for, because I see where we are, where it's leading down. And when we get there, it's no turning back. So I'm trying to solve a problem that I see coming. So don't get upset with me. Don't get upset with me. It's what I am seeing and what I know I can do and what I can contribute. I said to you over the months that I spend money, and I spend money unselfishly. Some people feel that I'm stupid, but I know exactly what I'm doing, because I see where we are going. I'm looking at the young people and the generation to come. That's what I'm looking at. And if we don't move expeditiously as it relates to getting a hold of the problem and solving the problem up front, down the road, remember, our leaders are not staying there forever. That's the brighter set of people we have in this country right now. That's what I see. And when they retire, who replacing them might not have the wish they have to solve a bigger problem. So bear me out in this. I'm saying it's a great program. The gentleman has said it right. But I'm saying beyond that, so that we can have this country rescued for the young people. The world broken down. The world broken down. I'll show you a way of what is happening in the United States again with this corona thing. It has gotten worse than it was in the beginning. So where are we going? This country will not be able to help us. So we have to be independent,
Okay, caller.
You see?
All right. Thank you so much for your
Thank you
contribution.
for giving me your time, ma'am.
Yeah. You see, I cannot agree. And I want to choose my words carefully. Because, you see, I want to choose my words carefully. There are vulnerable families in Grenada. Some may argue too many. There are food security needs that need to be addressed now. Now, I know a few vulnerable families that will benefit great. You think it's an easy thing when you're a family where the both breadwinners in the household have been affected by COVID in terms of income. And so you have no money coming in to the family. So how are you going to get food? How are you going to be able to sustain yourself? And I think that is what the Ministry of Agriculture is looking at when they look at the backyard farming program. It's addressing the now situation, the needs, well now and long-term needs of these families. Now, if they derive a business out of it, if a business is formed as a result of it, you can't blame them. You know, if they see a need for them or they're making a bit of money, you can't blame them. You know, so I don't agree that it's going to compete with the farmers. You know, when the gentleman was here yesterday, he said one of the biggest problems that we have in Grenada as it relates to farming is that everybody wants to do what they want to do, but they want support from the government. I mean, plain talk, bad manners. If you want support and you're being given advice and you don't want to use the advice that is being given to you, should you continue to receive support? And that's my question, because the advice that is being given to you is to ensure the sustainability of the resources that have been provided to you. So, for example, if I give you $1 million that should last you a year, in the year, you should be able to tell me that you've made a profit off of that $1 million. In a year's time, you shouldn't be coming back to me to say, well, you know, you give me $1 million support, but that wasn't sufficient, so I want $1 million more. And you can't say which of my or what advice I have given to you that you've utilized. But you're coming back to me again. And you see, that's one of the problems that they're having. So, for example, a farmer may see one person planting tomatoes and they find, okay, well, you're making money off of that, and I feel I want to get into tomatoes too, you know. But your conditions and that other farmer's conditions may not be the same for you to get or reap the same kind of product that farmer reaped, you know, and things like that. So we have to be very careful when we are asking for more. So you're asking for more to be done in agriculture. You're asking for us to diversify the economy more and put more focus and more emphasis on farming. You're also asking for, so government must now look for the market for the farmers. You see, I'm trying to understand what we really want as a people. Are we willing to allow government to create an environment for us to thrive and for us to utilize that environment to build ourselves? Or are we looking for government to micromanage all of our personal businesses? Because you see, that is what it sounds like. It sounds like we're saying, okay, well, I want to be a farmer, but all of the support for my business must come from government. You know, we kind of have to be a little careful in what we're saying when we say it. And what we're asking for, and knowing what we're asking for. And that is why I continue to say, when we ask for more to be done, when we ask for certain things to be done, the first question another person must ask me, and I must be able to answer it, is what has already been done? So what has the government already done for farming? What has the government already done for small business development? What has the government already done for tourism? And once we can establish what has already done, because you see, the premise of more must come from what has already been done. You can't say, I want more for agriculture, but then at the same time, you don't know what's already been done. So on what foundation or on what grounds are you asking for this more? You know, I have a customer, I have a comment here on the live that is saying, the truth is agriculture has died in the day that Morris Bishop died. The current government is only focusing on tourism. Agriculture is being placed on the back burner. Stay woke. I would disagree. We are a net import country. Let's remember that. A lot of our farming is done locally. We don't target a wider market, because if we find a wider market, we must be able to sustain it. We must be able to maintain this market that we have found. Now, if farmers already don't want to go based on the advice of government, then we've already failed. You know? So we have to be very careful. There must be a marriage between tourism and agriculture. And there already has been. Because there are a lot of people, a lot of farmers in Grenada whose main support for agriculture comes from tourism. And let's be honest, the majority of people who are speaking about agriculture and tourism and all of that, the majority of them, what they need to be advocating for is not for government to place more emphasis on farming. It's for the local people to support more of the local farming. That is what needs to happen. Because that is where we have one of the biggest breakdowns. We must support our own locally before we can even think about an international market. So we prefer to import peas and carrots. We don't focus on manufacturing of the goods that we have here in Grenada to produce some of the things that we import. And I keep saying that it is not government that has to do it. Let us stop. We keep saying government has to. We have to be independent thinkers as a people. We have to see a need and try our best to fulfill it. Of course, with the support of government. Of course, government has to create that enabling environment. But as a people, we must want to do it. We have a caller on the line. Oh no, we seem to have lost that caller. Caller, if you are listening, you can try calling again. We have to want to do it. So a lot of people are saying, oh, well, more emphasis needs to be placed on agriculture. But who must place the emphasis when millions of dollars are budgeted yearly for agriculture? When training is being given to farmers? When support is being given to farmers? And one of the complaints that you hear vendors are saying that they don't get the support that they want. You don't expect 15 representatives to support the entire agricultural sector of Grenada. It must be us. It must be the people of Grenada. So let us stop pointing fingers. Because remember, when you point one finger, you have three others pointing back at you. And we need to start asking the question, what have I done to support the agricultural sector in Grenada, me as a person, before I can even turn around and say, what has government done? I must say, what have I done? You see long lines at fast food joints and long lines at supermarkets to buy the food that has been imported. And when it comes to market day on a Friday or during the week, the attendance is meager. We must start there. We want to jump the gun. We want to put the cart before the horse. We have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sister Duncan. How you doing?
I'm good. Good morning.
Okay, everything is fine?
Yes, it's all good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. What I want to talk about this morning is about leadership, Sister Duncan. You guys need to have a program on leadership, because let me tell you something. If Dr. Mitchell and Mr. Bowen just happen, we're not praying for anything, just happen something come along with them immediately and they're gone. You know what's going to happen, eh? Because sometimes we sit and we say, no, we have a lot of leaders, manager. It doesn't work out that way.
Right.
Right now, in the party, we need to see a third person. We need to see that Dr. Mitchell tired. Years now he want to leave, and he can't give a date. But you could see it in him. The time comes for he want to enjoy the last days of his life. But we haven't seen anybody who is stepping up. Mr. Boyne is right there. He was with him from the beginning and will be with him at the end. But the time will come when both of them might have to leave today and tomorrow. And the party haven't shown up because we have no other leader than Dr. Mitchell. And it's true. He's sounding maybe stupid to some people. But if you look at the history of Grenada, you're going to see it yourself as a youth. We must start talking about leadership in the party, for the party, and overall for Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. When Dr. Mitchell left, we don't have a leader. You can bring all the party and put them together. Who's going to rule Grenada? Somebody had to step up. The man is tired. And we have to try to do better than that. Not because fighting about this and that one leave party and this and talking all kind of stupidness. Let we find someone who's going to get on the air and people going to say, yes, that's our next leader. We haven't seen that yet. And I hope sooner or later Dr. Mitchell is listening, because he has to find someone. He needs to rest. He needs a break, man. Yeah. Anyhow, have a good one, Sister Duncan.
You too, Colin.
Okay.
Yeah. You see, the funny thing about leadership, and I firmly believe that leaders are not made. Leaders are born. You know? And some people may argue that government must lead and that government must be the first to implement. There's an individual saying that there are no factories being set up to produce, only hotels. But let me ask this question. Why does government have to do it? And that's what I want to ask. Why can't a Grenadian with the know-how and the resources, because government doesn't have the resources. We keep forgetting that the resources of government is the people. We pay our taxes. Those taxes are the resources that are being used to run the country, pay salaries and so on. You know? And I need for us to understand, why does government have to do it? Why can't a Grenadian with the know-how do it? Why can't someone stand up and be a leader? You know, everybody wants things easily. And that's the funny thing about leadership. Hard decisions must be made. And a leader will make them, regardless of the consequences that will follow. It's not easy to be a leader. Some of us are very quick to condemn. We quick to see everything that is wrong. or we don't take time to understand that being a leader is very, very difficult. Because you have to make the decisions that people may not agree with. You have to make the decisions that you will take a couple blows for. But at the end of the day, you take those blows with the hope that eventually your people will see the benefit. And you know, it's funny, we condemn openly, we criticize openly, but when we see the benefit of what has been done for us, nobody comes back and say, oh, I was wrong. Nobody comes back and say, oh, well, you know they're right when they say that. Nobody comes back and say, I apologize, I misjudged. Or I apologize, I was too hasty in my thinking or too hasty in my response. Nobody does that. People don't do that anymore. We quick to call in to Shaggy, and we quick to call in to different programs, and we quick to condemn and point fingers, and we know what's best. And at the end of the day, when we are proven wrong, or when we finally see the benefit of, nobody goes back and says thank you. Nobody turns around and says, well, you know, that was a good decision, you know. We don't do that. And it's very disturbing that we find pleasure in criticism. Because what lesson is that for our children, our younger generation, the people who are coming up, who are taking over the politics of Grenada? What are we teaching them as a people? What are we teaching? Are we teaching them that politics is all about the negativity and the condemnation and the push and the pull? Is that what we're teaching them? Or are we teaching them, or supposed to be teaching them, that politics is about the fight for patriotism, the fight for the country that you live in, to see the best happen in the country? Even if that means making an unpopular decision, even if that means disagreeing with your fellow politicians. And that's what leadership is about. It's not about following the crowd because you're afraid to say, yes, that was good, because you're afraid that people will see you differently. And that happens a lot here. You have a battle between NNP and a battle between NDC, and nobody on NDC side would say that NNP did something good because they are afraid that if they do that, it takes away from their mileage. You know? And it's very sad. It is very, very, very sad. I have a comment here on the live, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, the sector needs to be transformed with better correlations among the active players and the supply chain that includes input suppliers, distributors, aggregators, extension services, financial institutions, the market space. There needs to be a coordinated effort in production, and production should be planned and market driven, with the customers or the consumers playing a vital role. Agro-processing is talked about so much, but how viable is such a venture? What is the value? Is it feasible? We have another caller on the line. Let's take this call quickly. Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Duncan. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good. And you said you wanted call from the diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one from the diaspora.
All
I
right.
know you're upset of some of us in diaspora. When we travel to different countries, we think we're better than the Grenada where we were born. We think of a sudden we become doctors and the biggest economists and everything. But don't be troubled. They have their agenda. Secondly, they're talking about the government, bashing the government about investment. The same countries we are living in the diaspora are going to other countries and ask their companies to come and invest. Even in the mighty America,
Right.
they are calling people from Germany and elsewhere
Right.
to come to America and invest.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them I talk to, telling me they cannot wait to come home when the border opens.
Mm-hmm.
I've been telling them and I've been preaching it. Yes, we are ready to go home because we feel home is better to be with this virus time.
Hello?
You in mighty America, take the test. I put my money where my mouth is. I took the test.
Right.
It's negative. And when I'm coming home, I'm going to go and take the test again.
Right.
I don't want to bring virus to my relatives and friends in Grenada. So, Ms. Duncan, have a wonderful day. I hope a lot of people are listening to me. If you're in the diaspora, take the test. We all are ready to go home. We want to go home. Take the test before we go home. Have a blessed day, Ms. Duncan.
You too. Thank you so much for calling. I mean, I like to hear from the people in the diaspora when they call and they contribute to conversation, because they are the ones experiencing it and they are the ones who know, you know. Okay, I'm not even going to read this comment because I think that we are past that place. You know, we looking too much for outside support. You know, so this person is saying the same way they're getting investors to build hotels, they can get to build factories. But why? Why is that necessary? Why can't a group of Grenadians form a cooperative and have a factory? Why? And that's all I'm asking. You know, you can't tell an investor where to invest their money, you know. If an investor says, okay, well, I find the tourism sector in the Caribbean is best for me and that's where I'm going to invest my money, you can't tell them, no, invest it in a factory. They will invest their money where they see fit, and government needs to make decisions for the betterment of its people. So if the investor wants to build a hotel and there is room for that and employment opportunities will be provided for its people, what are you saying? You rather tell the government, okay, well, let's forget that investor and let us say, let's look for somebody else. And we spend 2-3 years looking for another investor to suit the need or to suit what the people say that they want. Now I ask this question. Why can't Grenadians do it? Why can't a group of Grenadians with the money to invest then build a hotel? Create jobs for Grenadians? Why can't a Grenadian with the resources invest and make factories? Why must the government? You see, that's what I'm saying. We are so quick to point fingers. And the economy is not supported by one factor. If the tourism sector is thriving, why not support it? Why not build it? Because it creates jobs. It creates a means of a livelihood for our people. Let's be honest and realistic in our thinking. Let us be honest and let's be realistic in our thinking. So if the tourism industry is creating a means of support for our people, then why not invest heavily in it? Because guess what? The tourism sector is not only dealing with the unemployment. The tourism sector is also dealing with farming. Because guess what? A lot of the farmers, and those of you out there who are talking about more needs to be done in farming, it's not the farmers that are saying it, it's you. So that's why I always ask the question, what are you as an individual, are you asking yourself, what am I doing to help build the agricultural sector in Grenada? Do I have the resources, the know-how, the connection to get an investor who wants to invest in agriculture, who wants to come here and build a factory? And then when a factory goes up in Grenada, it will be a different conversation. And then now we're going to start talking about climate change. And we're going to start talking about government bring people to build factories and take away all the money from Grenada. I mean, I've been around long enough to know how we think as a people, huh? So where we want it on one end, on the other end, we still turn around and condemn the same thing that we have been asking for. So we want the government to invest in agriculture. Find an investor that would come and build a factory. But when what's the name of that cane company? Carriacou. When Carriacou started off, same Grenadians said that, oh well, it's a foreigner that come and build a factory, and they had all sorts of things to say. Why couldn't it be a Grenadian? Why, instead of sitting and condemning and waiting for every little thing that happens for us to complain, why don't we spend our time researching how we can contribute to agriculture? How many of us are willing to give up our 9 to 5 and our 8 to 4 to go into farming or to go into agro-processing? How many of us are willing to give up our regular fast food and decide that we're going to spend a month supporting agriculture, so we're going to buy from our local vendors? We ain't buying nothing in local. How many of us are willing to do that? Well, that's the important question. You see, we want a lot of things. Sometimes we're not willing to make the sacrifices that come with it. If government says for the next couple of months we're not going to be importing anything, we're going to be supporting local, let's just think about how many jobs that would affect. Let's think about that. Because then the next complaint is going to be, oh well, government said they put a ban on importation, so the supermarkets, they can't function, so they have to send some people home. Government take bread out of people's mouth. That would be the complaint. And I'm just being realistic. You know, I could be a pessimist. I could choose to nitpick at everything, pull it apart. But at the end of the day, who does that benefit? What benefit does that bring to the growth and development of the country that I say that I so love? So let's be honest. Let us be honest. Let's not just be myopic in our view. Let's not just see things that are right in front of our nose. And we can't see beyond that. Let us be honest. You know? I can't stress enough. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else in the world. You know, I love Grenada. Grenada is one of the safest islands in the Caribbean. Grenada is beautiful. The people are lovely when they want to be. You know, we're so close-knit. We're almost like a family. I wouldn't want my children to grow up anywhere else but in Grenada. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who feel that way, who feel very passionately about their country, that they're willing to go to any lengths to ensure that it's developed. So what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do as a Grenadian, whether here or in the diaspora, to help build this country that you feel so passionately about? What are you willing, what sacrifice are you willing to make as an individual? These are the things that I want to know. Guys, remember the lines are open. The number to call is 440-7377. If you're calling locally, if you're sending a message on WhatsApp, and even if you're calling on WhatsApp, that's the number to call. And if you are in the diaspora and you want to give us a call, it's 347-329-3101. What sacrifices are you willing to make as a Grenadian? You know, I go back to very early when COVID-19 started, very early in the year. And a lot of these things stay with me. When we had people in the diaspora saying all sorts of awful things about Grenada, all sorts of awful things about our Minister of Health, all sorts of awful things about our current administration, how they couldn't deal and they couldn't handle and they weren't capable of dealing with COVID-19, and how they were telling lies. I remember some of these same people are the ones now calling to come home, because the country that they thought they were in, that was dealing so well with COVID-19, is not doing as good as they expected. You know? It's just very, very sad. And I cannot understand why we would choose to take that sort of route. What benefit does it bring us? We have a call on the line. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Good morning. How are you?
Okay. I heard you said something there a while ago, and that's pretty true about some people being saying that the Minister of Health and the government can deal with it. That's very true, because I'm a bus driver, and I tell you, I hear a lot of that in the terminal all year round. A lot of that from people all over. They're saying, especially people on the other side, saying, they can't do, they're not capable enough, and the Minister of Health should be fired. I hear that. I mean, and look how things is working. Things is working pretty good. we have to thank God for that. And that is what a lot of them should look at instead of condemning. You understand? Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution. Yeah, I heard it too. We all heard it. You know? It's very, very, very sad that we have to resort to this kind of thing. And then these same people don't turn around and say, oh, well, I was wrong, or oh, well, I apologize. They feel comfortable in the fact that they would have bashed and made all these comments, and they don't feel comfortable coming back and say, I'm sorry. Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm listening to the program. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you listen to me on the phone? Because there's a feedback from the radio.
Hello? Okay. Hello.
Yes.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
I'm just listening to the program for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. And what you're saying is so true. We are Grenadians. We're very ungrateful. We are unthankful. When we're in trouble, we always fear. We're calling on God. And as the thing just gone off, we come back in the same way. We have to change our attitude and ask God to help us with this attitude. A lot of people could have died all over the world. People died, thousands and thousands of people. And here we in Grenada, that one person died of the COVID. So we have to repent and ask God to change our ways. May God bless you and have a blessed day today.
You too, you as well. Yep. We have to be grateful for what we have. We have to want more, you know. It's our right to want more as a people. There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting more. There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to see better for Grenada. But if in the same breath that you're saying you want to see more for Grenada, you turn around and say that nothing good ain't happening, then you really don't want to see better for Grenada. You know, it's the same as looking at your life. Take your life, for example. When you want to see more done in your life, when you want to see better done in your life, do you just sit down and say, well, I find I want to put on an extra room, you know, and you just expect it to happen? No. The work has to be put in to get that room built. It's the same concept. We have to want more as a people. It's okay to want more. It's a good thing for us to want more for our country. It's a good thing. But are we willing to make the sacrifices? Are we willing to take that step? There's so much negativity just rolling around in Grenada. And for what? And to whom? You know, I remember in 2008, and I keep going back there because it just keeps circling in my mind, and I keep asking the question, why? And I could only come up with one answer. I'll give you the answer. And I looked at the situation our country was in 2008 to 2013. As a Grenadian, as a person, where there was nothing going on, where salaries couldn't be paid on time, where the economy was on a downward spiral. Well, not even a downward spiral. It had crashed. Where we were at a GDP of 108% or 106%. That was our GDP. Our growth was at -3. And you know, a lot of people pretend that they forget. But you didn't forget. And I remember how difficult that period was. And to be honest, I didn't see a strike. To be honest, I don't remember people calling on radio programs asking for the head of the government. I don't remember buses striking. during that period? I don't remember that. I didn't remember teachers going on strike and they couldn't get paid. I don't remember public servants going on strike. I don't remember hearing from any of the union leaders. And correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I just didn't hear it. I don't remember any of that. So I have come to the conclusion that the only reason, and I dare anybody to contest me on this, that the only reason that unions, the opposition, that different sectors behave the way they behave with government, with this government, is because they know this government could deliver and has delivered. Have they been absolutely the best, perfect government ever in history? I can't say that. Do they have work to do? I would agree that they do. Do they have shortcomings? I would also agree that they do. Do they make mistakes? I would agree also that they do. But guess what? When you weigh the pros and the cons, when you measure the growth and development that Grenada has done, it outweighs the shortcomings. And these are the things that we must look at. I really can't begin to understand how we operate as a people. We have a caller on the line. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Is that Miss Duncan?
Yes, it is.
Hi, good morning. No, I just wanted to call in and make a few comments.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad when I heard you speak just now about, what this government has done, because I was very disappointed this morning when it was the government program on GBN, and there was nobody there at all to, represent the government side at all. Because I find that happens a bit too often recently. And yesterday we had Sir Tillman Thomas from the NDC, and he, of course, he was trying to make the NDC look as great as possible. And I was wondering if anybody would call in on that program and remind him about so many of the blunders they have made. But no one called in, and he made it sound like everything was beautiful whenever NEC was in power. But I think the people know better than that, and that's why they have done so badly at the polls within recent time. But I really felt like I could have reminded them that even back in the days of George Brazan, when I think they were trying a little better then, but when you look at their record, they sold the electricity company, they sold a bank, and then they sold PTS, which is something I think that we are still suffering from today. I think we are suffering from all those moves, and of course there are those who argue that they had to do it because they needed money and they needed to make our books look better. But I'm pretty sure that another government, especially like the NNP under Keith Mitchell, would have done differently, and that Grenada would have come out much better off. And one of the things I always remember from those days when they were in power was every time anyone came on to speak to us, the people, afterwards I felt very, very disappointed. I just felt low, because the other way of speaking that made you feel that, more or less all was lost or things are very, very bad. You didn't get motivated to move forward. And I think that's a big difference between the two parties, because Keith Mitchell is a leader and he knows the importance of having people think positively and working to do good, And I think That is one good thing. Now, the other thing, yesterday, I also wanted to call in when you and Mr. Bowler were speaking. I think it was yesterday, but I was just a bit too busy, and sometimes I don't hear all of your nice program because, of course, I'm working as well, and when I have people coming to me, I can't be listening to you as I would like to. But again, I think you were talking about agriculture, and I just thought I wanted to mention, some time ago I called in, I spoke a bit about it, that it would really help a lot if we could get some of our ground provision and things like that more market ready for people to purchase and easier to prepare. I keep thinking all the time about bread nut. I mean, I think a lot of our visitors don't know how nice bread nut is, and simply because usually when they see it, doesn't look attractive, and of course it has the skin and everything on it, and it'd be so nice if those things could be peeled and ready for somebody to buy in a bag. If you have to pay, because bread nut is not expensive, I think people would easily pay maybe $10 for a small bag of bread nut if it was, done nicely and presented nicely,
Yeah.
And all things like that, all the things like breadfruit chips, and I was thinking of something else, but when you go to places like Barbados, I remember the last time I visited there, the groceries, the big groceries, they'll have a whole line of products to do with things like cassava and so on, and Barbados is not big in agriculture. I believe a lot of their stuff must come from the other islands, maybe St. Vincent, but I'm saying that I think we can do a lot better along that line, and we just have to make up our minds and work on it, And I'll leave it there for now. So you have a nice day. Bye-bye.
All right, you're welcome. All right, thank you so much for your contribution, caller. Yeah, guys, we have to be better. We have to do better. We find pleasure in pulling down each other, and it shows not just in pulling down government, but in pulling down each other as a people. We are not supportive of one another. So we see each other strive. You may see one person strive, and for you to say, okay, yes, another Grenadian has made it, we turn around and we say, hey, well, what's she doing there? What qualifications she had to be there? Or what qualifications he had to be there? Or he don't deserve to be there? That's how we behave as a people. And it's a culture that we have developed. We don't take pride, and we don't praise, and we don't feel good when another Grenadian has thrived. And that's a very sad thing. And it shows because it overflows into our daily activities. It overflows into our family lives. When you're negative and you complain and you condemn, you get all heated and your pressure gone up. And at the end of the day, what has that accomplished? How has that improved your life as an individual? How has that contributed to the growth and development of Grenada? And if you can answer any of those questions positively, then maybe you've done something right. But I can guarantee 99.9% of the time, it hasn't done anything for you. It hasn't done anything to build Grenada. So we have to do better. So for the people in the diaspora, those of you who are ready to come home, and we want you to come home. There's no place greater than home. And as I said earlier, I don't see myself being anywhere but in Grenada. But at the end of the day, let us take into consideration when you're coming home, you're going to be quarantined for 14 days. It's not singular to Grenada. It's all over the world. In the US, if you're going from one state to the next, you have to show them that you have been tested. And when you get there, you still have to be quarantined for 14 days. So don't make it sound as if what's happening in Grenada is singular to the world and nowhere else is quarantining people for 14 days. It's only Grenada that do it, and it's such a terrible decision. Don't do that. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. Let's be honest. We want you guys to come home. It's your home. You have a right to be home. But guess what? When you come, there are protocols that need to be followed. These are the same protocols that has kept us safe for the past 3 months. We don't want to lose that progress that we have gained. So let us stick to those protocols. And for those of you in the diaspora, if you're not sure of what you're supposed to do, I know that very soon we should have the protocols for the reopening of the airport. But if you're not sure of what the train of thought is in terms of reopening our borders, there was a press conference on the 18th of June. Go to the GIS page, Government Information Service. Those of you who have access to Facebook, we also most times we share and replay those press conferences here. Take time. Take time and go back and listen to it. Please. Please. So you can't say you don't know what's going on. And yesterday I heard somebody say that the information is not there and they don't know what's going on in Grenada. And listen, the Ministry of Health has really stepped up its game in terms of providing information to the people of Grenada during COVID-19. I give them kudos for that. Anything you want to know is on either the Ministry of Health's social media page or on GIS. And it's being replayed whether daily or weekly. The information is there. You have to access it, The information is not going to just fall in your lap. You have to access the information you want. So, I want to say that the health or the wealth of our people, or the wealth of Grenada, is its people. We are the only ones that can make Grenada rich, We are the only ones that can make Grenada thrive. But we have to want to do it. We can't just sit on our laurels and expect things to just happen. Expect change to just come. Expect us to just benefit. That can't happen. It won't happen just like that. We have to get up and want it. We have to make a decision to work hard towards it. We have to set goals for ourselves. Every business in Grenada that thrives helps Grenada to thrive. Just remember that. So, if we need help building the agricultural sector, let's do it. Let's all put a hand. Let's all decide that we are the ones that will do it. We're talking about agriculture, and we know people who go in other people's land and steal the things that they're working hard for and destroying their crops, and yet we wouldn't say a word. But we're talking about more needs to be done. we wouldn't buy anything local. We wouldn't buy anything local. But we're talking about more needs to be done. We have acres of land sitting down as forest. But we're talking about more needs to be done. When government decide they want to put a little tax to help contribute more to a sector, we complaining about killing the people with taxes. But we want more to be done. On the days of vendors market, the market clean. But we still want more to be done. Growth must start at home. Let's teach our children that maybe it's a little bit better to buy a fruit, a mango, and to buy a concourse. You can't blame the supermarkets, because if there is a demand, they will supply. That's their duty. So in our quest to demand more for agriculture, maybe we should start going to our shops and demanding more fruits that we can purchase and actually purchase them. Maybe we should start by sending our children to school with fresh fruits and vegetables as a snack. Maybe we should start by making them some juice. A lot of gospo and thing wasting on the ground. Maybe we should consider a healthy snack is a fruit punch, whether it's mango or watermelon or cucumber. When we're asking for more to be done in agriculture, when we're asking for more support to be given, it's not the 15 representatives that must do it. It is the people. It is us. We must be the ones to do it. Can't blame the shopkeepers. If you're selling more malt at the end of the month than I'm selling lime juice, what's the point of me making lime juice? So the consumers at home, we must start. We must take up the mantle for change, you know. We must make that change. Eat what you grow and grow what you eat. It's not just a motto. It must become a lifestyle. And then we will see that change that we're asking for. Only then. So I keep saying every day, if everything that we look at, we see the negativity, we'll never be able to make meaningful contribution to anything. Because if we look for that speck, that glimmer of positivity in a difficult situation, then we are one step closer to finding a solution to our problems. And that's how I see life. Nobody said life was going to be easy. Nobody said that everything you want in life will just come to you easily. It takes hard work, perseverance, patience, and determination. You have to want it. So instead of seeing the negative side, instead of choosing to be negative and choosing to complain and choosing to condemn, try choosing to be positive. Try choosing to be objective. Try choosing to look at the bigger picture. Try choosing to see the benefit. Try choosing to look at yourself first before casting blame on anyone else. It's all about the choices we make. That will determine the direction our life takes. So that when you succeed in life, you can say, I chose to do this. And even if success does not come, you can turn around and say, I did this, and this is what I need to change. Can't blame, or we can't continue to blame everyone else for everything that goes bad. And we don't take time to look inside ourselves to see what we could have done differently, what we could have contributed. What we could have contributed to the situation. I want to leave you on a positive note this morning. As our borders open, as we welcome our Grenadians home, let's take a moment to think, to consider, to ponder upon what we can do to better this wonderful country that we live in. And I want to leave you with a very small quote that I read every day. One small positive thought in the morning can change your whole day. Guys, it's always a pleasure to be here with you in whatever you say and whatever you do. Be safe and be secure. I always want to be talking with you. I don't ever want to be talking about you. Please do enjoy the remainder of your day.
You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada via www.hardtalkgrenada.com.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Tourism Minister says consideration being given to increasing intra-Caribbean travel opportunities. Details to this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back. With the details to the news for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020, I am Sherian Noel. Grenada's tourism minister says dialogue continues between government and regional travel entities as serious consideration is being given toward increasing intra-Caribbean travel opportunities. Dr. Clarice Modest-Kerwin made the announcement during an interview on Tuesday with Johnson John Rose, the Caribbean Tourism Organization's communications specialist. She said initially when talks to reopen the country's borders began, the focus was mainly on regional travel. but measures are being taken to include international travel. Minister Modest Cowan says travel within the Caribbean poses the lowest risk for Grenada at this time, as most countries have been medically cleared of the spread of the COVID-19. She said protocols regarding regional travel will be announced in the coming days, as it will be different from international travel requirements for quarantine and testing.
Even though we court visitors from the global community internationally, I think we still have to look at inter-Caribbean travel. The Caribbean has been a significant source market for us, especially in certain seasonal activities like Carnival and so, and we welcome that. And given that, I know that on the table and being given serious consideration is the protocol for how we treat with our Caribbean neighbors, because they present the lowest risk for us at this time.
The tourism minister said 2 entities have made bids to provide flights within the region to and from islands they have deemed safe for travel. Grenada has been listed among the Caribbean islands.
We had Inter-Caribbean Airlines, a company, and we had AMG, Airline Management Group, something like that. That is going to use a particular airline. They have singled out a few countries, of which Grenada is one, and they have suggested that because of the low incidence of the disease in our countries, they would want to start something. Inter-Caribbean goes much broader, goes as far as Guyana, and goes up north as well. But I think it's a great opportunity. We have also been having dialogue with LIAT. We never forget LIAT. LIAT has been our Caribbean Airlines for ever since. And we are also expecting that they will come up with a proposal for us that would give them some viability, but also be reasonable for us.
Grenada's border reopening is scheduled for July 1st, 2020. Moving along, a significant Saharan dust plume coming across the Atlantic Ocean will continue to affect the eastern and southern Caribbean. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Francis Martin says they have received a report on this activity from the Caribbean Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology through its early sand and dust warning system.
The important fact is that the dust concentration is expected to be between somewhere like 70 to 100 micrograms per meter squared, which is 3 times higher than the air quality levels guidelines that the WHO has put out. The air quality guidelines should be about 25 micrograms per meter squared, so it's expected to be between 70 and 100. This has very significant implications for respiratory problems because this small particulate matter are respirable matters. That means this matter can be inhaled by the human body. So we expect that 3 times as much dust is going to enter to the lungs of persons in the when they're in the outdoors.
Dr. Martin says the information must be taken seriously since it has implications for those who suffer from respiratory health issues.
We'll expect heightened symptoms of watery eyes, itchy eyes, sinus problems, asthma, and other issues. This is particularly more important now that we're in the COVID season or the COVID pandemic, because we expect COVID is also respiratory. Although COVID virus affects every organ in the body, it's primarily a respiratory pathogen. And so that really does have significance for our public health response as the dust plume continues to hover in our environment.
Dr. Martin says now more than ever it is important to follow the protocols and wear a face covering or mask once venturing outdoors.
It is even more significant now to wear face coverings and things that help to protect the particulate matter from entering into your lungs. Of course, it has to be a nice balance between that and the need to have pure oxygen. So it is even more important now for people to think about and try to comply with the issue of wearing of the mask. Not only would it help you avoid the particulate matter from getting in, but also enhance our ability to prevent droplets from causing the transmission of COVID. So it all seemed to be happening at a good time, if you want to put it that way. Bad things happening in a good time.
He warns there could be implications for individuals involved in high-intensity physical activity on the outside, since this will induce faster breathing, which can encourage inhalation of dust particles in the air. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Distance makes the difference. Keeping the nation positive, we can do this together by uniting apart, reaching out to you at home and in the diaspora every Wednesday night from 8 to 10 right here on GIS. Join me. If we hold on together, our dreams will never die. Be a part of flattening the fear curve and replacing it with hope and positivity, sharing the stories and the expectation of a brighter tomorrow. We can beat this virus. Remember, we are in this together. Distance makes the difference. DMD, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. here on GIS. Sharing is caring.
Welcome back. Another demonstration from the People's Republic of China of its commitment to help Grenada win the battle against COVID-19. On Tuesday, Chinese Ambassador His Excellency Dr. Zhao Yangshen handed over a PCR machine and other medical supplies to the Ministry of Health. The equipment and supplies come at a time when Grenada's testing of the novel coronavirus has increased, when nationals are being repatriated. Contact tracing is continuing and preparations are being made for the reopening of borders.
When the outbreak of the epidemic, I talked to my colleague, say, China will give Grenada strong support. So now we do what we say. We share medical experience and some knowledge. We donated some medical supplies to Grenada.
These supplies were received by Foreign Affairs Minister Honorable Peter David. He says Grenada and other islands can learn a lot from China's approach to controlling COVID-19.
From the beginning, China has been assisting Grenada in medical supplies and equipment. For example, this PCR machine here, it is a third received from the People's Republic. And these are absolutely critical, essential in our fight against COVID. Everybody hears about testing. Well, without the assistance of the People's Republic and without these machines, we are unable to do any testing. I also want to thank the government and people of China for sharing the experiences they've had. As everyone is well aware, China was first hit by corona, and they were able to bring it under control. And certainly, they have taught us and taught the world the way to do it.
The donation is valued at US $77,000. Finally, in the news, the Ministry of Youth Development is recommencing youth debates between parishes, focusing on different social issues nationally and worldwide. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the event will be done virtually. The first debate will be held today, Tuesday, and Permanent Secretary with responsibility for youth development, Norman Gilbert, gave an outline of the events.
We have a number of parishes lined up for conversation. Today we are going to be witnessing the St. Patrick's debaters discussing a very important issue, that of youth rehabilitation and how they are reintegrated into society, and what is the impact on youth in terms of their reintegration and how society deals with young people who have been in conflict with the law. We understand quite clearly that we have a lot of people who are in conflict with the law, and when they come from prison, there is a stigma attached to these young people, and they have difficulties in terms of their reintegration. And so the debate would focus a lot on reintegration, looking at the both sides of the coin. What are the challenges, what are the benefits of persons coming back into society and contributing based on the skills that they would have learned while they were incarcerated.
This has been an opportunity for the ministry to develop a means to engage young people. Mr. Gilbert says participants are well prepared and will be able to showcase their public speaking and investigative skills.
The debaters have been preparing for the last few weeks. They have been working very hard with the facilitator, and the project officer from the ministry have been working along with them to ensure that they have a level of readiness second to none. And we believe that the production would be a good one, that we're going to be hearing young people express themselves in a manner that we expect that the seniors would be able to. Of course, they have various opinions on the issues, and so it would be good to listen to how they bring across that message. So we are still trying to find an avenue where we can still continue to provide that kind of opportunities for young people who have that skill. Whilst we are not able to have the physical parliament as we have been able to for the last few years, we believe that these series of debates would bring across the same message as the youth parliament would have done, though the process and procedures are different.
The debate will be carried live on GIS Channel 22 and on the Facebook page from 6 p.m. And with this story, we come to the end of the National Report for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Sherian Noel, thanking you for viewing.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.